Hey everybody, if you're here, it's because your kids most likely play youth hockey at some level, and we want to thank you and welcome you to the Our Kids Play Hockey Network. If you're here, you're listening to one of our four shows, Our Kids Play Hockey, Our Kids Play Goalie, Our Girls Play Hockey, or The Ride to the Rink. We know we get a lot of new hockey families that listen to the show this time of year, so we just wanted to personally welcome you to our family, to our network, and let you know that if you want to continue the conversations that you hear here, you can head over to our Facebook group, Our Kids Play Hockey, or at any time email us at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com with episode ideas, thoughts, questions, topics, whatever floats your boat. Or you can send us a text message by clicking the link at the bottom of the description that accompanies this episode. But let's get you into this episode that you've chosen today. Thanks so much for being with the team over at Our Kids Play Hockey. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. It's Elias with Mike Bonelli today. Mike Christie has to use her anchoring superpowers. She's needed at the news. She texted us late last night, said, listen, there's literally a problem in the newsroom, and they need me to anchor the news in the morning and the night. So she is on assignment today as a news anchor. I mean, it's pretty, I like to say that. I think it's pretty cool we get to say that about our co-host.
She's like seven new news anchors today. So yeah, she's doing triple, quadruple duty. But good luck to her. And again, the show must go on. I guess
the show must go on. Literally for her, literally for us. But it's pretty cool that we have USA Hockey's hockey mom, a news anchor, an award-winning author, so forth and so on. And now it's just us two schmucks today discussing a really great topic, actually, for those of you listening. This might be one of those episodes you actually want to listen to with your kids. If they have the patience, we'll do a great ride to the rink as well for this. But today's topic is 11 questions every hockey player should ask themselves this season. These are 11 questions that really it's not even just limited to hockey players, coaches, parents. If you're a human being, these are just great questions in general. But the questions that we're going to go over today are really there to help you progress mentally, but also to help you progress physically on the ice. Because, and I say this on the show a lot, great questions demand great answers. I find a lot in coaching, Mike, is that kids sometimes don't ask the best questions. Sometimes, and you're all parents out there, the question might just be, but why? But why do I have to do that? It's not a quick question, and the answer is typically because I told you so. We all have been there. So we wanted to come up with some questions that really make you think and really make you explore a little bit deeper into every aspect of the game, from again playing to mental to being a great teammate to the locker room, so forth and so on. So, Mike, are you ready to dive into the 11 questions?
yeah, I'm excited for it, and hopefully I'll be able to use it with the kids I work with. Right away.
Yeah,
Start
I think
spreading the news.
I think you
Yep.
can apply these. All right. Question one, and this is an important one for everybody all season long, and it's just the way it's phrased, right? What problems can I turn into opportunities? Right. And this is one I think you want to ask yourself continuously throughout the season. What are the problems right now surrounding my hockey or just life? Right? Is school a bummer? Is hockey having a hard time? And how can I turn these into opportunities? I think sometimes kids have a problem and they go, well, this is horrible. This is never going to end. Because kids tend to not realize, Mike, that the negative feelings or the problems that I have, they don't last forever. Right? As you get to become an adult, I think you start to realize, all right, this feeling is not going to last forever. Right? But I think the key out of that is asking that question. What problems can I turn into opportunities?
Right, and I think it's outside of like skill development and your game, abilities. This is a collaborative effort between us as parents and our kids. That's why we're our biggest kids advocate, or we should be. We're the advisor of our youth hockey player. Our 15 and under player that has to understand that there's a lot of things that maybe they don't even know about. Maybe you as a player are sitting there in the car and you aren't even aware of some of those problems, right? Because your parents have done a good job of shielding you, from the stress of what it costs, the time you have to take off of work, the ability to get multiple kids at the different rinks at different times on different days, and then throwing you're probably, because you're an athlete, you're probably good at something else, right? So your other sport coach is is saying, no, you got to play for me, you can't play for that guy, or so there's all kinds of these problems, I guess, right? That you can take as opportunity to learn how to work through them, through time management, through communication, through reflection, through grit, all kinds of cool, neat stuff. And that's why we get all excited about getting into a new season and getting an opportunity to almost reinvent ourselves as players.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up with this exactly what you said. Look, not not all opportunities feel good. I think that that's another misnomer. Like, oh, an opportunity has to feel good. No, 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 no. Actually, most opportunities don't feel good, right? It just depends on how you have to look at it, right? So opportunities are everywhere. I really am a firm believer that everything that happens to you is an opportunity, good, bad, indifferent. It's just how your ability to look at something. So just a quick problem I can think of is okay. I didn't make the team I wanted to make, right? And they put me on the team below the team I wanted to make. Well, this is an opportunity for you to be a leader. This is an opportunity for you to log some probably power play minutes. This is an opportunity for you to work on some aspects of your game to make you better. That's a quick example, right? There's other
Yeah.
ones like someone's not passing to me, coach doesn't like me. There's a lot of different examples. All right, I'm going to keep moving through the questions because there's 11 of them and we have 45 minutes. This one kind of builds off the first question. What is it that I don't know but need to know? What is it that I don't know but need to know? Again, you might be listening and saying, well, that's obvious. Well, in my experience, people don't ask this question that often, right? They might focus on what they don't know, period. I don't know that.
Right.
But what is it that I don't know that I need to know?
Right. And I run into this all the time, actually. Like, so, yeah, example for players that are now in training season, or they're going into the beginning of the year and they're doing power skating and they're doing edge work and they're doing all this kind of stuff. So, one of the things that keeps coming up is the amount of parents and players that just don't even realize about sharpening skates.
Right.
Right. And that's like the number one thing you're doing when you're training is your blades. Like, so all the other stuff is irrelevant in power skating if you have uneven, unsharpened, unprofiled, or unbalanced in most kids' situations blades. So these are things you need to educate yourself about. Um, the different pieces of equipment and how they work, and that I didn't know about. Like, oh my god, like I didn't know you should be wearing, other protection on your body that eliminates getting cut with a skate. Like, I just thought it was a neck guard, and because it's mandated. No, but there's a lot of things you need to do as a player and can do, and it's fun actually. Research and look for all the little things that you're not doing and don't think know about, and say, hey, wow, I didn't know that. And then what I'd love to see players do, instead of keeping that to themselves, spread that wealth. Get it
Right.
out there. Let the other people on your team know. If you're a parent that found something out, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Think about all the 8U parents out there that are new to hockey that don't understand or realize that your skates have to be sharp. They just assume, I don't know, I bought the blades, they came, and I sharpened them at the beginning of the year. Isn't that good enough? So little things like that in order to help you with your goals of getting better each week.
Imagine if there was a podcast that would share that kind of information with parents out there. I bet you that would do really well. Another one too with this one, the key of this question is that the second half, but I need to know. I'm gonna put the old man hat on for a minute. One of the things, Mike, that exists today that did not exist when you and I were youth hockey players is the internet, and the ability to just search for an answer. We're actually entering into a time you could actually ask the thin air the question, and the thin air will give you the answer back. But things like specifically in the game, and I can go by age group, how to take a better shot, how to make a better pass, how to play a 1-3-1. You can go online and really find unlimited information about this. When I was a kid and we were playing a system, let's just say 1-3-1, I had to hope my coaches had the time to really explain it to me if I needed to know more. Otherwise, you were kind of learning by doing, or maybe you could watch the NHL and maybe pick up some things. By far, the greatest resource right now for young hockey players and everybody is the web. So if your kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to get better at passing," obviously, parents do the best you can, but don't be afraid to go online and just look up some great passing drills if they have the desire. Parents, I always like to give a caveat here. If your young kid, is not showing an interest in doing anything outside the rink, don't push them too much, right? It's the kids that want to learn will learn. Okay. When I say don't push them too much, I'm saying just read the room. You can push them over the edge when they're really young if they don't want to practice. Doesn't mean you can't encourage them. Doesn't mean you can't say, hey, if you want to get better at something, put the time in, but just
Yeah.
be very mindful of that.
Yeah, and just understand that looking at the internet doesn't mean it's gospel, right? That it's
Right.
make sure it's age appropriate. Make sure it's something that's relevant to your game and your player. and make sure it actually makes an impact. I mean, it's great to do all these other things out there, but if you're really trying to set yourself off on the right skate this winter going into the season, just look up the things like shot selection and how to shoot is a great example, and that you can find millions of things online.
Yeah.
And
How to do a Michigan. Like that's, good use of your
right,
time.
and that's fun, but now mom or dad could actually say, "Well, look, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but this here looks like I don't know. I looked up Tim Turk. He seems to be good. So this is the kind of guy I would follow. But
Right.
here, look, like take the free teaching, like take that free instruction
Right.
and use it to your advantage, and just again make sure it's age appropriate. Make sure your kid wants to do it. Um, and put them in a safe environment too, where they can do all these kind of things and not worry about breaking your garage windows and the downstairs living room couch or whatever. Just you're in a really great place, like you said, to be able to look things up not even look things up. As I'm speaking to you, my iPhone is telling me to look up different things. So
Right.
and I'll get it, and so it just automatically organically happen.
Well, and I'll say this too in closing, Mike, that the learning never stops. I still learn from watching videos online from people much younger than me as the game has evolved, right? Just to learn how they do things or new drills or new skill sets. I'm still a student of the game, and I don't have an ego big enough anymore to say, oh, that guy's 22. What does he know? No, I can learn from these people too. So it's a resource. The question again, what is it that I don't know, but I need to know? And again, remember, these are just questions you should be asking yourself throughout the season. Those are kind of internal questions. Let's go a little external because I know we have a lot of kids out there that want to be leaders, right? I think every kid wants to be the guy with the C in some way, but you don't need the C to be a leader. So the first question on that front is, how can I make life better for others? This is a tough one for the kids, but it's one of those questions that you can bring up. Parents, you can encourage your kids, hey, we help people in our family. So how can I make life better for others? Your coaches, your teammates, the refs, so forth and so on, your teachers, if you want. Kids listening. I always say this to my kids. I think sometimes it's deaf ears, but I say it to other kids too. You'll make your life a lot easier if you try and help the adults. And if they see you trying to help, they're going to make your life easier too. So I just think that's a great question. How can I make life better for others? All right. Are you
Yeah,
lifting them up or are you bringing them down?
So one of my favorite guests we've had on recently is Megan Bozak, and she said this, and it will resonate. I'll use it in every time I speak to a group of young men and ladies about their impact in the locker room. Be a good person. Just
Right.
just come in, and you will make an immediate impact on your team. Your coaches will appreciate it. Parents will appreciate it. Adults will appreciate it. But that's how you want to make an impact. Come in, be a good person, be a cheerleader, be somebody that is on board, and not that you can't question things, and you can't push back, but just be a really good person, and things. It's amazing how good things will work out for you on a team.
Yeah, again, Mike, I had a kid, his name's Nico. And I really remember this kid. I've coached him for a few years and I coached a lot of kids. I'm not shutting all of them away, but the reason I bring up him is because he always went out of his way to pick up pucks, to shake hands, to be a good leader, to be a good friend. You know what? You want to help that kid. Not that I don't want to help the other kids, but you actively want to help that kid. It makes a difference in terms of, if he's struggling, you want to be right there for him and help him. Again, you do that for all the kids. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that like his attitude definitely changes the perception of how you coach that kid. So how can I make my life better for others? The next question, and this is one you got to think about. How do I become a person of value? The reason I love this question, especially for the young hockey players, parents, you can apply this to yourself throughout the season as well. How do I become a person of value? This is a tough conversation that coaches have to have with players at almost every level. Well, the player will say, well, I'm a power forward. I'm a scoring winger. And you got to tell that player that's what you want to be. All right. And really, depending on the age level, this is a different conversation. You have to be able to adapt to what the team needs and provide value. I always tell young players, Mike, always, there's plenty of goal scorers in youth hockey. Are you the player that can become the playmaker, that can pass the puck to that goal scorer and become an extremely valuable teammate because you can move the puck? Are you a defensive forward that you're going to shut down the other team? You might not score a lot, but you play that two-way game, right? Are you the defenseman that can help that goaltender out and make sure that that puck's not in the crease? Are you the goaltender that lifts the team up? Are you the goaltender on the bench that's cheering the team on? Create value. It does not go unnoticed. How do I become a person of value? It's a great question to ask yourself.
Yeah, and I think you can really sum it up too in my background and the people I've talked to and the kids I've worked with is if you want to provide value, be versatile. And if you could be versatile, you could be everything for me. You could be you could be you could be the hype guy. You could be the mean kid. You could be the kid that is going to go out and maybe you're a goal scorer or whatever. And you're out there and you block the first shot of the game, or you take a big hit, or make a great clearing play by sacrificing yourself a little bit. Be versatile. Be again, this is not going back to like some of this other stuff that we want players to be for a coach. This is not to be like a butt kisser and a teacher's pet. This is like just do the things that are going to make everyone's life easier. It will help you. There is no doubt in my mind. I mean, it's very few people that can look and say, wow, this guy's so valuable to me. Why? Um, because they're giving me because that person's giving me more ends than buts. Like Enley does that. Enley does this. Enley does that. Not, oh, but Lee, oh, but this or but that, right? So give me more ends and buts, and you're going to be of value to my team.
Yeah, one of my favorite roles on a team when I was in youth hockey was I had a coach that I think really saw the different aspects of my personality and my ability. And he would come to me in games and say, hey, listen, I need an energy shift from you. And I know you know how to do that. Or I need a defensive shift from you. He saw the value. And in doing so, and the reason I'm bringing this up, it's not to pat myself on the back. It's he allowed me to see that value of, wow,
Yeah.
he trusts me to do this. Players, you want to be in that position. You want to be in that position where the coach sees the value and knows what you can do. And look, if you're a goal scorer, that's a value too, right? It comes down to
Yeah.
figuring out what you need to do and filling in that value. So again, how do I become a person of value? And then Mike, building off that, next question, what value do I have that can be shared with others? So the first one is how do I become a person of value? I think this one's a little bit more about identifying the things that you have that are value. So again, what value do I have that can be shared with others? If you're a great goal scorer, are you helping the kids on your team, your teammates, become a better shooter? Or are you, as kind of Mike alluded to earlier, are you keeping that to yourself? Right? At the top levels, these guys share everything with each other. They're curious, they ask great questions, they want to learn about shots. I remember reading an article in the Athletic years ago. I can't remember the player's name, but he was the first year in the NHL, and he realized everyone shot differently than he shot. And he was shocked. And so he started asking questions and he started realizing this is actually where Toe Drag release started, I think, at this article. But the idea was that he was curious and he asked questions. If you have value and you have a skill set that another player is open to learning about, teach them. The best example I have, real quick, Mike, if your team has a great goaltender, as a coach, you should tell that goaltender, we're going to do a lot of shooting drills on you because it's going to help our players become better goal scorers. And you tell your goal scorers or your players, we have the best goalie in the league. We have a really good goalie. We're going to challenge us so you can learn how to shoot. And then conversations. Hey, how come I can't score on you? Well, I mean, that's not a comfortable conversation always, but you're leading this way and you're giving yourself away. If you don't do this, you'll score. That sharing of value as teammates is so valuable for the team. The learning team wins. I mean that. You'll get better and better. The toughest thing to watch as a coach, I think, Mike, for me, is a team plateau like halfway through the season. And usually it's because the learning stops. It's not because they're not getting better or they've reached their peak in youth hockey. It's because they're not talking, they're not teaching, and it's just gotten stagnant. The best hockey you want to be playing is at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can do with as a player. You also have to have great reflection ability and have a conversation about what are you good at? Like, where are your strengths? And as you get older, as a player, you're going to start not trying to reinvent the things you're not good at, but you're going to try more and more to excel at the things you are good at. And that's because every player on a team the great thing about ice hockey, right, is it's a team game and there's a lot of roles to be played.
Right.
And we can't have, 16 first line centermen. Just can't have it. So where, when you identify your own value, embrace that value. Not at 8 and 9. Listen, there's a lot to learn.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's more when you get to when you get to puberty and you get to like 12 and 13 and 14, it's very hard to change your game. But you can excel at the things you are good at. And I
Right.
think that is where your value really comes in. And you can help your teammates because ultimately, if you understand your value and you understand your limitations, you understand what you're able to do, now a coach can build a team around that.
And Mike, let's just say for the 8, U8 down, right? 8U, U8, whatever it is. If you're 8 years or younger, uh,
Right.
I think you'll agree with me here. The value, parents, is cultivating that love of the game. All right, that's what you want to build at that age.
Yeah. There's no toe drag release and who cares? Nobody cares about the value and it really doesn't translate. It doesn't. I mean, people think it does. It just doesn't. So value the fact that you love coming to the rink. Your son or daughter loves coming to the rink. They beg you to go
Yeah,
play
it's the
hockey
greatest thing.
and or any sport, whatever that is, and embrace that time. Don't beat out a passionate player by forcing them to present some kind of a value that's not there yet.
Yeah, it's funny, Mike. In my years in hockey now, I think the most comforting thing I've ever heard my kids say from a hockey standpoint is, "Dad, when are we playing again? Like, when are we getting back on the ice?" That's the most comforting thing I think I've heard as a hockey person, right? Because it means, hey, they really are enjoying this. Or hey, you guys want to skate today? Yeah, like I get that a lot now too. That's pretty awesome. All right, we're almost.
Right.
This is question 6 now, so we're kind of at the midpoint. This one's a little different. Before I asked what problems can I turn into opportunities, this one's a little different. What did I do today to make myself a better person or player than I was yesterday? So this one's very present. I'm going to read it one more time. What did I do today to make myself a better person or player than I was yesterday? You'll notice also I said person and player. They coincide. You want to be working at that. Um, Kids have a lot going on in their lives, a lot. And I try and ask my kids about, what did you learn today? What did you fail at today? It's a question I ask pretty regularly, actually. You mentioned that earlier, Mike, that in our team meetings, and I'm not just talking about hockey, we like to review failures. What did we all fail at so we can all learn? That's the opportunity aspect of this. But then there's the action. What did I do today to make myself a better person or player than I was yesterday? It might be the same thing you did yesterday if you're trying to learn something new, or it might be something new. But if you don't ask the question, you most likely won't take the action.
Yeah, and every successful coach or player or high performance person that I've been associated with in my whole life would come back at 95% of the time would attribute it to them doing some type of journaling or some type of documentation or some type of metricing of where they are and where they're going. Like
Right.
if you're just winging it every day, some people can be successful that way. I get it, but for a kid, for a player, and coaches, you could do this with all your players. Like you could actually help all your players do this, right? What am I doing today? And what is my goal tomorrow? And did I accomplish that goal and get better? And those kind of little things that you can do as a player, now you have the access. I mean, if you're a player that has a cell phone, just build it in your notes folder, and just be able to reflect back on it and have a benchmark to hit and be able to say, wow, I wanted that. I wanted that. I tried this and I got that. Or I didn't get that. And, as Wally Kozak would say, right? You never fail, you learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you win and you learn. And then if you learn, hopefully you're on the goal to winning. But again, without some guardrails in there or without some guidance, and parents, you can help with this. And, I've tried, again, not everybody takes to it. I get it. But in my experience, the people that seem to be high performers, and they don't even talk about it, right? It's kind of like, it's not a badge of honor. It's like, oh, look what I do. It's like they just do it to stay on track and keep themselves, in a good place and know where they're at. Like, how do you know if you're accomplishing something if you didn't know what you were trying to accomplish in the first place?
Right. And, I always like to say, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Like, you're going to go all over the place, right? So, Mike, I actually like your metaphor, like the kind of the bumpers in bowling a little bit, right? We do those so you don't get in the gutter. right? And then when you get enough skill sets, then you bowl without them because you know how to go kind of go down the line. You know how to go straight. Um, the other thing too is that building off what you said, I forget the exact stat, but it's something like people that write out their goals have an 80% chance more chance of accomplishing them, right? It's like this is a well-known stat. Excuse me. I just think it's one of those things of helping your kids have a goal, whether it's a little goal or a big goal. You know, a lot of kids say, I want to play in the NHL. And I will never tell a kid that's a stupid goal. All right. What I will tell a kid is that's awesome. I love that you have big dreams. Now, what are the steps we can take along the way to get you towards that goal? And I'll also tell them nothing's guaranteed. You got to work hard. A lot of
Yeah.
people work hard and don't make it, but that doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. Right. But again, what did I do today to make myself a better person player than I was yesterday? We're going to talk about this on this week's Ride to the Rink. A lot of what you do in the present and that patience you have to display is what builds the payoff later on, the years and years of work. All right. Final 5 questions. These are kind of rounding back out towards you as a person now. All right. These are pretty important, I think, for everybody, Mike. And I'm going to start it. I'm going to lead the final 5 with this. What is the one thing that matters most to me? Now, you might think the answer is hockey. Hockey's the thing that most. Well, okay. Yes, we all love hockey. My answer to this is easy. It's my family. That is the most important thing in the world to me. It is important, I believe, coaches and parents to remind your kids that while hockey is amazing and one of the greatest things on the planet, I firmly believe that it's not the only thing that defines who they are. It can be tough for a kid at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and up to think that way. But I think that's why it's so important you say it. Hey, listen, son, daughter, you're a hockey player. You're my son or daughter. You're a student. You're a great musician. You're a good friend. You got to say these things, right? So they know that there's something surrounding them. Ask them, what is the one thing that matters most to me? And look, if they say hockey, fine, right? Identify that because that's parents. They're giving you the driving force. They're giving you the answer of how to get what you want, right? What is the most important thing? Or I'm sorry, what is the one thing that matters most to me? You'll see why I'm asking that, Mike, because identifying that leads to the next 4 questions.
Yeah, and again, you don't know that unless you ask those questions. And I think so. And then parents, if you have little kids and little players, ask those questions and get it doesn't have to be the same. It's probably not going to be the same answer every week. It's just start out
That's
somewhere,
okay. Yeah.
and just start out somewhere and have an opportunity to have those conversations, and it leads to other conversations. I mean, so again, it also I think helps you. Um, going back to that guardrail analogy, right? That it also helps you understand what your kids value, like and
Right.
think. Like they go, oh my God, well, this is who I am. I'm like,
Right.
well, let's figure out that that's not really who you are, and what's important to you is this. Not I'm not going to tell you what's important to you, but let me tell you why I think these things are important, and then you can determine and weigh which is more important. Like
Yeah.
eating and sleeping and things like that. Those are important things to do.
Yeah. And Mike, to your point, like, I'm just thinking of this now that you're saying it. The messages we give our kids, I think we all say, look, I'm driving you to practice. I'm paying for this. I'm doing this. The time I sacrifice, I'm going away from work. Well, if you're 10 years old, I'm trying to like think about this like a 10-year-old. Well, you're telling them, well, this hockey thing is pretty important. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it is. I'm not saying it's not, but the messaging we give those kids kind of helps craft what they're thinking and how it's going to be important. Anytime you see a kid with road rage, they didn't learn that. They don't drive. You taught them that. Must be important. All right. What is the one thing that matters most to me? Building into these next questions. When you have identified that or something important to you, this is a big question. This is a good question. What is the single biggest time waster in my life, and what am I doing about it? So we've all been there with our kids where we say, God, turn the TV off, turn the screen off, don't do this. It's a waste of time. Kids, I love it. I'm doing it. Well, it's easy for them to say that when you don't have the backing of, well, hey, listen, we talked about this and you said that this thing is really important to me. So if hockey is really important to you or whatever, music, whatever,
Yeah.
tell me why this is a waste of time or tell me why we should reduce the time. But this question helps you identify what is the single biggest time waster in my life and what am I doing about it? I just saw a presentation, Mike, last week. I'm going to try and bring this person on our podcast. Her name is Larissa Mills, and she talked about cell phone usage or just screen usage. And she really equated it to you spend more time on your phone than you do practicing and playing hockey, and by miles. Like, and they have the stats to prove it. You might spend on average 5-6 hours on your phone each day where you're not practicing, right? But you might spend
No,
two
you're
hours
watching other
practicing.
people practice.
Right, right. And she really equates it to like, well, let's think about this, right? If it's really important to you, you need to be doing action. I'm not saying screen time is bad. I like playing video games. I like watching TV with my kids. Is it a time waster to what your goals are? Mike, I think
Yeah.
it leads right into the next question. I'm just going to get it
Yeah,
right
go ahead.
here. So, because I think our answers are going to go to this. The next question is, what am I willing to sacrifice for the things I want? Now, again, these are different questions. One is identifying what is a time waster, and then is the what am I willing to sacrifice for the things I want? This could go a lot of different directions. It could be screen time, it could be bad food, it could be other things that are not worth your time, right? So, what are you willing to sacrifice? And again, this plays into discipline, Mike, right? Discipline is sacrificing things that you want in the short term for the payoff later on. You don't need to eat that extra Oreo, Mike. Or maybe you do. I don't know. When your metabolism's fast, you can eat a lot more Oreos.
So I had the opportunity to sit down. I mean, literally, this happened 2 days ago, right? Sitting down with have a cup of coffee with a Ivy League recruiter, somebody that works with, going out and finding the best, student athletes they can find, and a very, unique group of student athletes at that. And the sacrifice piece comes up all the time because everybody wants to play Division I college hockey.
Right.
Like there's not again and or any college hockey. I mean, we could those stats are crazy, right? That like if you get to even that level, even in our game, right? If you get to a good high school player, it's very elite. Like you're already playing at a very
It's like top
high
5%
level.
at
When you
prep
look at
school. Top
right,
5%.
and when you look at like your beginning your might program, and then you can project that out over 20 years from now, and you're like, oh my God, none of those kids play hockey anymore. But I think that sacrifice piece is really what sports is all about. It's like, what are you going to give up to get this? Or anything you want to excel at, you have to give something up.
Right.
There's very few people that don't have to give anything up. Like, Tom Brady has to get, he gave up a certain diet, right? He gave up certain things that he doesn't eat. And people are like, oh, that's ridiculous. I go, yeah, but you're not Tom Brady. Like,
Right.
so who do you want to be? And what will you sacrifice? And then what is the level of that sacrifice? I mean, it's it is a tough question because it's almost like the test where they gave kids like a candy bar or something, and they'd say, okay, well, you can have it right now, or you could have two candy
Right.
bars in three
Right.
hours,
It's
right?
an
And so
intelligence test.
whatever, and then they just say, okay, oh, okay, I'll wait,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the
I love this,
marshmallow
I
test. It's
love
just
this, I
that.
can wait.
Yeah.
So but that I love that kind of stuff. Is it really, as a coach, I want the kid that's going to sacrifice for me. As a parent, I want the kid that's going to be rational about it and be like, okay, well, you don't have to give up everything. I mean, isn't that a little extreme? Like, and I fight my inner, like the coach is like asking you to do this. It's like, wow, that's a big commitment. Like, that's a little crazy. And as the coach, I'm like, I need crazy. Like, I need you to commit to me. So there's a lot of these pieces where you have to juggle and figure out, what is that sacrifice? What does it mean to me? What's it worth to me? And after everything's said and done, is it going to pan out? Who the hell knows? It most likely won't. Like after all of that, what life is telling us in the sport is it won't work out.
Right.
So you need to determine with your kids where that level is, and then find rational ways to do it throughout and get to the result that I guess you want to have. But the cool thing about all this, right, is sometimes what you think is the results you wanted, something else happens, and you're like, thank God that happened because I love this.
Right.
So
If Christy was here, she would talk about her kids, and we always talk about the ROI of youth hockey, Mike. And her daughter just started law school, and her son had just moved, I believe, to New England to work in a very high position. And she always references that hockey taught them these life skills that
right,
they're using now in their careers, and the pride. And I think this is one of those things that is tough while you're in the middle of the journey, but the pride that she shares for her children and their hockey journey leading to this, you can feel it on the episode. You can feel
No
it when
doubt.
she speaks about it.
Yeah.
That's another reason why it's important to identify parents too. What's important to you? Um, hey, look, we talk about sacrifice here, Mike. Every hockey parent from September to April sacrifices friends outside of hockey. You don't talk to them, you don't know them, they don't exist for that 6 to 8 month period. You have your hockey family. Sometimes you love them, sometimes you hate them. Then the summer comes around and you reemerge, and people go, "Where have you been?" And you go, "My kids play hockey." Our kids play hockey. All right, two more questions left. We've got just under 10 minutes. Um, I'm going to do this one next. What is the single most important thing I can do to improve the quality of my life? Now, the last question we asked about is about sacrifice, and we talked about identifying things that are important to you. Quality of life is a little bit different, right? So, if you're sacrificing too much and your quality of life goes down, that's actually not a good thing. Mike, you were just alluding to that, right? Like, kids got to be kids. You got to let them be kids. I'm not expecting my 10-year-old to sacrifice being 10 to become the next Henrik Lundqvist, right? That's not what my goal is, right? Even if he wants that goal, that's not my goal. I want him to be a kid, right?
Right.
So improving the quality of life. What is the single most important thing I can do to improve the quality of my life? I think in youth hockey and youth sports in general, Mike. I mean, this is the only question I'm going to give kind of an answer to. I think every other question we've answered is, exploratory, and you have to be curious and create your own. But really tapping into your mental psyche and just seeing where you're at. Are you doing anything for your mental fitness as a coach, as an adult, as a kid? Um, you know this. The amount of opportunities I'm getting now as a mental fitness coach is skyrocketing because people are really starting to realize this is an important part of not just hockey, but just becoming a productive human being. So I think that quality of life, tap into your mental state. Hey, how are you? I'm asking all of you listening. How are you? Are you stressed? Are you not sleeping? Are you having a hard time? Are you doing great? Wherever you are at in that spectrum, it's important to ask yourself, what can you do to improve your quality of life? Sometimes it may feel like, and players, I'm talking to you too, might feel like there's nothing I can do. All right. Um, there's almost always something you can do. I know it feels like there's nothing you can do, but that's why it's important to ask the question. If you don't ask this question, you will not find solutions. All right. And that's why it's important to ask these questions. Sometimes the answer might not happen like snap of the finger. Sometimes you have to ask yourself this a few times. And Mike, you know how it works. Sometimes you'll ask yourself, oh, there's nothing I can, there's nothing. Well, if I did this little thing, if I did this little thing, it might help, right? Your ego kind of comes out to play a little bit. But I'm gonna say the question one more time for you, Mike. Um, what is the single most important thing I can do to improve the quality of my life?
Yeah, and I think outside of the mental piece, obviously, which is very important,
Yeah,
reflecting
it's
on
just
that.
one aspect for sure.
Yeah, is just what are you doing? Is it every night after practice Taco Bell? Is it
Oh,
are you never getting any sleep? Do you know you could get your homework done? You're choosing not to, like, and then it's causing stress about, okay, now you can't go to practice. Well, you're not hurting me. I don't want to go to practice. There's all kinds of there's a lot of reflection going on, and I think this comes down to parents and kids, and the reason that these podcasts are so fun is because we get to have those conversations and maybe inspire somebody to actually talk about it and have the conversation and bring it up and say, well, I actually could change that. I could probably have a talk with my 11-year-old and talk it out
right.
and figure it out and see where he or she is at. Right. So you can do it. It's just there's the will and a want and a knowledge and a desire to do it and not make excuses. And then if not, you just, the old, you get what you get and you don't get upset. Right. So, I mean,
Get what you
I think
get and you don't get
it's
upset.
just,
Yeah.
it's just, you could choose not to do those things. Um, but again, the mental health piece is, I think it's funny. It's so funny how we talk about this all the time and how it's so bad, but yeah, we keep doing all the things to make it worse and we're all of us in the industry, like we just keep saying this is a terrible thing, we should get help for this, but yeah, but everything you're doing is causing it, like, and you're embracing it, so that's a whole nother
Yeah.
episode, but the bottom line is, yeah, just I think really figure out what you can do to make
Yeah.
yourself in a better place,
That's
healthy
a whole
wise.
other podcast. It's not even a whole other episode, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, we're down to question 11 here. This is the last question. Um, simple question, but an important one. Am I a thoughtful and careful listener? So I'm going to read that one more time. Am I a thoughtful and careful listener? Mike, I'm a host, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker. I talk a lot. And one of the things I'm always trying to work on is being a more thoughtful and careful listener. People can tell when you are just waiting for your turn to speak and you're not really listening to what they're saying. Kids naturally have an issue with this because kids want to tell you everything that they know. They're excited about it. And one of the things I work on with my teams, Mike, is listening and trying to listen. Parents, this is a huge one for your kids. We all have that time where our kids just a little more irritable than normal and they annoy us and we get angry with them. And I'm trying to be better at kind of picking up on those signs and saying to my kids, hey, look, is something going on like outside of the house? Right. And then I just listen. Look, first inclination as even as a husband, not even just a parent, is to try and help and fix and give solutions. As a coach, that's literally what we're supposed to do. Sometimes people just need you to listen. I'm not great at that. I'm working on it. I'm making myself more vulnerable here. Like I am not anywhere near where I want to be with that skill set, but I'm constantly working on it. And when it comes to my spouse or my kids, listening and then kind of rounding this episode out, Mike, asking them a great question will help them come to a great answer or solution. Sometimes we know the answer as adults. Well, if you just did this, this will happen. But if you ask them a great question, like, hey, what can you do today to help make that better tomorrow? They'll probably give you an answer or ask for help, but then they have ownership over it. When I coach, it is far more valuable if the kids can come up with the answer, even if I know the answer, than if I just give it to them. Why do we need to pass more? Why does it not make sense to go 1-on-4? Well, I'm going to get beat. Right. Let me show you some things to help you with that. We don't do this enough in society in general. Everybody wants to tell you why they're right and you're wrong. Okay. It's another big problem that we're having. We're heading towards an election. You all know what I'm talking about. No politics here. Am I a thoughtful and careful listener? Last thing I'll say, Mike, and I'm going to throw it to you on this. Everybody knows I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. One of the best quotes to come out of that from Walt Whitman: be curious, not judgmental. All right. This is not one of the 11 questions. This is a bonus question, right? Be curious, not judgmental. It's a statement. When I approach any situation with curiosity over judgment, I almost always learn something. Doesn't mean I will agree with the other person, but I will always learn something about them or why they think the way that they do. And then B, I take something with me that I can apply later on. Again, not going into politics here, but the idea is you naturally at this time of year disagree with somebody else. The question is, do you know what it is and why they stand for what they stand for? Are you curious about that? Or are you just, there's no way I'll ever agree with you on that? That's fine. Are you curious about why they think that way? Because the answer may surprise you. So again, am I a thoughtful and careful listener? You will open the world to yourselves if you can learn to listen and be curious and ask great questions. Mike, I appreciate you thoughtfully and carefully listening to what I just said there. Do you have any thoughts on this?
You done yet? You just getting done?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, I'm talking a lot. I'm doing it again. Go ahead, Mike.
So, so as you're speaking about this, one of the things that came up, if you're a coach in USA Hockey, I'm not as confident to speak on behalf of Hockey Canada, but definitely European, Scandinavian countries. What they've done in the last like 5, 6, 10 years is change their model from teaching systems and X's and O's and concepts and more educating coaches on how to ask questions to get an answer out of them, out of a player. And I think it's the hardest thing because professionals need to do it's really the role of a professional to do
Right.
that.
Right.
Like a bunch of dads and moms are like, oh my God, like that's a heavy concept to pull information out of a child as opposed to giving them the answers. Like, isn't it just easier for me to give them the answers? Like, so because then I can get my job done. It looks better. Like, look, it looks like they know what they're doing. It doesn't look like chaos out here. And I think that's one of the most universal changes in teaching in USA hockey and USA lacrosse, and now the other sports are following, and is the concept of listening, allowing the player to find the skill and find the technique and figure it out and guide that person, as opposed to, this is how you have to do it. Why? I'm just telling you, like when I was coach, I just did what I was told. Like it was probably the wrong, that was the worst. I'm like, well, why would I do that? I never said like, why would I do it? If I said that, my father would slap me across the head. Like, don't ask why you're doing it. Just get down the boards and do it. Your coach is telling you to do it. And that's where we've hopefully, a lot of us have evolved. Now, some of us haven't, but a lot of us have evolved, and we've gotten to the point where you have to ask and pull information out of kids, as opposed to giving it to them, making it the easy road, making an easy concept, whether they understand it or not. Like, so they're not really, you're not learning. They're doing, and they have a technique, but they don't understand why they're doing it or how they even got there. And that's what the beauty about where we are now as coaches and parents and facilitators of youth hockey. And I think, and a player, we want you to ask questions. I want you to ask me why. And I want you, then you need to be a good listener. You can't then just say, okay, okay, I'm going to do it. Don't worry about it. Like you as a player have to say, if I'm going to ask the question and I want an answer, then I need to now open up and not be like, but. Like you're already speaking about why you think you're wrong. And I think it goes both ways. But again, we're supposed to be the adults in the room. So maybe the adult can foster that a little bit better than the 9-year-old.
You done yet? Just teased you. No, Mike, that was
I think Caitlin muted me a while ago, but that's okay.
That was really good. No, Mike, I love the way actually you said that, because I think you gave a lot of perspective there into just how everybody thinks on this one. But the thing you're saying too is, like, as coach, we got to teach them to think. You got to teach these kids to think critically and ask great questions. And it's actually a great way to round out the episode, because we're out of time. But the idea is this: look, teach them to be curious. Teach them to ask great questions. It's how you create courage. It's courageous to me when a young kid asks a question, hey, I don't know this. Can you help me? Right? That's courage to me. Right? And these 11 questions here, put them in your leadership toolbox, put them in your kid toolbox, because they're questions from high performers and positive difference makers. That's what we're trying to create here. We say it every episode: great people become great players. Either way, you should be a great person, right? It's not just about you or them. It's about all of us together in that ecosystem. But it does start with leading ourselves. So again, these 11 questions, the curiosity behind them. Great questions demand great answers. Encourage yourself, your coaches, your kids to ask questions like these. I'm not going to go through every one of them again. We will post them on the website. We will post them on social media along with this podcast. But Mike, this was fun. 11 great questions there. Imagine if every team applied these and shared these, or had something where they could answer these on a piece of paper or something like that. 11 great questions every hockey player should ask themselves. Mike, always a pleasure doing business with you.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm going to go tell a bunch of kids what to do right now, actually.
Yeah. Mike's literally jumping on the ice after this show. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Thanks, Mike Bonelli, obviously, for being here today. I'm Elias. We'll see you on the next episode. Make sure you hear all the episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, OurKidsPlayHockey.com, or if you want to join in the conversation, head over to Facebook. Join the Our Kids Play Hockey Facebook group where the conversation continues. But without any further ado, we want you to have a great day, great weekend, great hockey. We'll see you soon. Skate on. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, OurKidsPlayHockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at WhenHockeyStops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.